So then in video 3 of the interview series at minute 3 and 11 seconds, Sallie shares an anecdote that I was really excited about this one because I feel this is very INTJ specific. I've seen it with other INTJs. It's really cool. So she shares this little anecdote about how she, by using her dominant NI and also her TE and maybe a little bit of the FI tertiary, she figured something out about how to be effective in her communication with others. She told that little anecdote about how she noticed that when she'd be out riding her bike, she would see people by the side of the road, obviously trying to deal with a problem. And for quite a while, she would call out, "Do you need any help?" And she noticed that a lot of these people, and most of them were men, she said, were not responding. And so that got her thinking, like, why are they doing that? And so she decided that she's like, I'll bet, and here again, what would be the worst thing the worst insult, right? What would be the thing that would really sting an NTJ? It's like if you tell them, this is where hitting them where it hurts would be if you, with any accuracy, that is, if you were to, insult them on the level of their mastery and what you could do the same thing with NTPs, by the way, too. But the thing is, the NTPs, that's hitting them where it hurts would be about, criticizing their elaborate abstract ideas, their sort of systems of abstract thinking and conceiving and reconceptualizations of certain phenomena. But where you can, where it was really going to bug the NTJs is if you put down their competency in the application of intelligent design. That's gonna really bother them. And so I'm sure Sallie was, had her INTJ sort of bias in her wondering about this, like, oh, why aren't people talking to me? It wouldn't probably be as, again, I'm mind reading here. I don't know. Maybe Sallie was thinking about this, but I tend to think that an INTJ would be much less likely than a feeler type to be like, oh, they don't like me. There might be some of that because she's human, but what I would be extra unsurprised to learn is that she would be thinking like, they don't seem to like how I'm doing that. I wonder why that is. And then would come at it as like, what bothers me? Oh, that bothers me. Like, I don't like people to think that, I certainly don't like to be incompetent, and I try very hard not to be, and anything but. And maybe maybe they're a bit insulted by that. So then she started to employ, here's the TE again, applied problem solving, So she's like, maybe if I rephrase the question, I'll see if I get a different response. And so she went out in the real world, she applied the concept, and she used a different device to deal with the thing, and she got a different response. And she said that, when she rephrased things and said, oh, do you have everything you need? She found that these guys by the side of the road, then they would respond and be kind of friendly and, hey, thanks, about her asking. And so again, I find that that's very exemplary of the workings of introverted intuition at the top, and then extroverted thinking, and maybe a little bit of the FI in there in terms of paying more attention to interpersonal, emotionally based concerns. Although, that one's kind of iffy, that's kind of shaky, but perhaps. And this is a thing that I have seen in INTJs who are in midlife or older. It's really cute, I think it's really, really cute, but not like in a patronizing way. I just think it's really neat. I have had some older INTJ loved ones do that very thing with me, where they're kind of like, you can see they're kind of proud. They're kind of like proud of it because they figured it out. They again, solved the problem, where they have figured something out about the interpersonal world, and then they've applied their thinking to solving the problem. And then they found that, if they manipulated things a little bit this way, then they got the result that was desired. And that they're kind of like, you know, they're kind of proud of it. They're kind of proud of like, I figured that out. Isn't that clever? And it is clever. And I think like the part that's cute about it is that I think that's a great example of, you know, you see this interpersonal application of INTJ-ishness, if you like, there that Sallie gives an example of. And, you know, and part of it's an INTJ, it's an example of an INTJ doing something that I know they're advised to do. I can't remember where I'm getting this from because it's been decades that I've been reading all about this stuff. I can't remember where I read this, but I know that someone was suggesting to INTJ, some MBTI so-and-so author was suggesting that for INTJs to help with their sort of social difficulties, you know, difficulties fitting in, difficulties connecting socially with other people. So like not offending other people who have a very different and more emotionally based sensibility, but also just feeling less awkward and, you know, just being better at getting along with people and connecting with them, having a good time with them. And it's said that, okay, so like don't expect yourself to be, as an NT, don't expect, especially an INT, don't expect yourself to be just a natural at like making great small talk with total strangers you have nothing in common with. Like don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. It's not helpful, it's not realistic. Here's what you can do though, is you can use your strengths. Use your strengths in your TE, your NI insight, you know, sort of imaginative, like came out of nowhere, flashes of insight into what's behind things that are happening. Use that very powerful function. Then use your very, you know, also less so, but still very influential extroverted thinking to come at the social world. So use your strengths to help with your weaknesses there, temperamentally speaking. So yeah, observe what's going on around you and then figure it out. You know, figure out how to solve, like how to connect with people better. You don't need to be this super feely person in order to do that. You don't need to be a natural to do that. You can use your other stuff as a workaround. And this is suggested also to the INTPs to a good extent, to do that as well, to use their intuitive powers, which are strong, to and that are and whatever's extroverted in the top two of their cognitive functions, that is observant of the external world, and put that all together and then just practice and then just use it and apply it. And I think that's part of why these INTJs are so, like Sallie was, like these other ones I'm thinking of, were so like, look at me about it, because they'd use their strengths to figure something out about how to like work the machine, and it worked. And then they're like, great, mission accomplished. So it's really cool. All right, coming up again, more INTJ for you.